Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another video. Our 2024 bandless season has already begun. We're a little bit under a week since its inception, which means this next upcoming weekend is going to be our start of our regional season under this new Forbidden Limited list. I kind of wanted to talk about a few things because we already know that Maze of Millennia and Phantom Nightmare are going to be two game changing sets. We already know that our format is going to be very sporadic after the release of those two. Um, like Sets in general. One of them is because of cards like Transaction Rollback, Bonfire, uh, just to name like the main flagship cards, and the other set would be because of like the resurgence of Snake Eyes, as well as a few other themes that we already discussed earlier in this channel, like Goblin Rider, Silent Force, Goatee, and extra support for with other free agent cards like Rumple Tufel. On today's video, I kind of wanted to showcase one duel that I had. Shoutouts to Spy. For those who don't know, this is Ramon. This is from the Team D Extenders. I will post their channel in the description. Uh, Basically, I'm having a test duel session with them, pre Phantom Nightmare and like post Maze of Millennia, and we just happened to have a friendly duel, and I kind of wanted to showcase something that happened in this duel because I feel that once this set is released, there are going to be a few unorthodox strategies that people like just need to look out for, and this is if you're playing Tearlaments or if you're playing like any mill strategy, like Lightsworn is going to get support in 2024 later on this year. We're getting Infernoids most likely this year, depending on how cramped Konami's schedule is with that. Um, and Tearlaments is still viable. So we still have a few mill strategies in the game that can be played, and I feel like the card that I'm going to be showcasing in this duel is going to be like very like enticing in what you want to do with it. So I face against the Fire King deck. He's pretty much popping off. Like you see, like the Snake Eye cards being used. You see the Ponyx, Sanctuary, Island, Pop Ponyx, that accidentally grabs Nibiru. Uh, so popping Barong, Snake Eye, sending. They summon Sunlight Wolf. They summon everything you're seeing right here. Like this entire line that you're seeing right now, uh, is something that you will be seeing more commonly post Phantom Nightmare. Post Phantom Nightmare is going to be a set that is going to be like working towards a combo like this one, because instead of just having the Witch and the Sinful Spoil engine, you have Bonfire and Snake Eye Poplar as two other openers to make this exact combo that you're seeing on the screen a little bit more common. The other thing to add to this is the end board is not going to be post Phantom Nightmare, but post Phantom Nightmare we're going to get the bestowed Fire Princess, which is another card that like really helps with this line that they're doing. But right now, this is the current line that they're doing. They end on IP, Sunlight Wolf, and in the standby phase they grab Kirin. This doesn't look like a very strong board. However, this board does serve as a prelude of what's to come in Phantom Nightmare, because post Phantom Nightmare you're going to be seeing boards like the one on the screen a lot more often, and you'll see what I mean by that. So I activate Tearlaments Scream. I summon Tearlaments Murdy. He is contemplated whether or not they let it go through, but at the end of the day, they did let it go through. And the cards that we milled out of Murley and Scream are the six here, the six right here. We did mill Rollback and we did mill Sharon. Sadly, we do not have the only monster we can summon is Garura, or we can make Kaleido Heart. That is another option. I opted to just keep the. I opted to just use the Meta Noise to just grab the Sharon, because in the options I can grab another extender. I can just use the Sharon and fuse that way. If I go into Kaleido Heart too early, I will just get eaten out by this Infinite Impermanence. And not only that, he's going to contest against my entire board, and I pretty much have to rely on these other cards to keep my engine going. So, on resolution of me adding Sharon to hand, he activates Fire King Avatar Kirin. What he's gonna do with this is he's gonna pop the Flamberge Dragon. He pops the Flamberge Dragon, and the Flamberge Dragon is going to trigger, as well as the Garunix. The Garunix special summons itself, and the Flamberge Dragon summons Ash and Ponix. And now he's going to get an add out of Ash. He's going to get an add out of Ponix, and he's going to get a dump out of Garunix. And this is what I mean by the prelude. Like, you're going to be seeing boards that are not really that interactive. However, with interactions like Kirin plus Flamberge, or interactions like Fire Princess, the Bestower of Flames, you're going to see interactions that come out of the just an M board and just produce a mass field of advantage that gives you both interruptions and follow up. So he's resolving all the effects. He makes Appaloosa for 4, so he has 3200 attack, and he grabs Skyburn, and he grabs Ponix. Adding to that, he uses the Kirin effect, and then he special summons Arvata with Fire King Kirin. He also grabs Kirin back to his hand because the Appaloosa did get summoned underneath the Sunlight Wolf. So, if you look at this scenario right here, this is not a winning position for me, that being the Tearlament player. Like, he has insane amount of follow-up. He has Arvata to negate. He has Appaloosa also to negate. And he still has the Imperm set. So not even summoning Typhon is going to like actually get me out of this one. So I opted to activate Foolish Burial Goods. The thing that I'm going to do right here is with the Foolish Burial Goods, I'm going to dump a trap card that is going to be useful with transaction rollback. There are a couple of options. One option for rollback is just to use Meta Noise and set the Arvata in order to dump a Tearlaments from the deck. But the main problem with that is he still has the Appaloosa to negate. Another option is sending Daruma Karma Cannon and have the Daruma Karma Cannon resolve, setting both the Arvata and the Garunix while getting rid of Appaloosa and Sunlight Wolf. However, that does not clear his entire board, and he does not advance my game state either. So I'm going with another approach. And it's a very risky one, but it depending on the results, it could just be a blowout. And the card I sent was Fiend Comedian. So for those who don't know, this card is really old. It has no reprint to this day. And the card reads, toss a coin and call it. If you call it right, all your opponent's cards in the graveyard are banished immediately. If you call it wrong, send a number of cards equal to uh, cards in your opponent's graveyard from your deck to your graveyard. So basically, I either mill 9 cards or I banish the entire graveyard. Banishing the entire graveyard is a very big deal because now he loses the Flamberge Dragon like follow up for following turns. He loses an extra copy of Garunix. Uh, there's he already used the wanted engine, but in the future you might see players be more conservative with their with the wanted engine and just not use their spell cards immediately and just save them for follow up. So getting rid of the entire graveyard is a big deal. However, if we end up milling cards, we're going to mill 9 cards out of Fiend Comedian. And I don't think I need to explain how strong it is to mill 9 cards in a Tearlaments deck. So let's see what happens. We use the rollback, we copied the Fiend Comedian, and we got tails, which means we're milling 9 cards. So out of the 9 cards that got milled, only Soliek activates. We're going to ignore Rumpeltoffel because we're practicing pre-Phantom Nightmare, so I told them that this is just a blank card. On hindsight, I should have just milled another card and just put it back in the deck. We also milled another copy of Transaction Rollback, which is another really big deal because it means that in the next turn we can try doing that again. So now Solic will trigger. Solic is going to grab a Tearlaments Kashtira. And another thing that we milled that is kind of important is Scareclaw Reinhardt. The reason Scareclaw Reinhardt is important to be milled is because we do have the Scareclaw Arrival, meaning that we can bring back the the Reinhardt, turn into Lightheart, and in the options they could resolve, it can grab us Rayphobia, and that just becomes a blowout. We also have ways to bait the Appaloosa negates now, because now we have an extra body for Sharon to try to do her effect. In the off chance that they negate that, we also have Tearlaments Kashtira that can also try to resolve. And we just have a lot of ways to just bait out their cards. So we activate Sharon, we activate Tear Cash, excuse me. They chain Arvata, we activate our rival on a new chain. We try to do Reichardt, try to bait more negates. He then shows us the Imperm, meaning that he just kind of wants his Appaloosa to like be sustainable on resources, since they know we have Tearlaments Kashtira. We have a Scareclaw Lightheart, the Lightheart triggers, the Appaloosa is going to negate. We're going to use SP Little Knight. They try to Appaloosa. We chain the second effect to just make sure the Appaloosa goes through. We popped the Fire King. We banished the Fire King Island. Since it's banishing and not being popped, it cannot be protected with Sanctuary. And then it just nukes the entire board. We go into end phase, and then Appaloosa and SP both come back. So they have 14 cards. We're in the draw phase. We're going to do Fiend Comedian again with Transaction Rollback a second time. The reason we're doing this is because no matter what likely scenario pops up, we're going to have a very significant advantage out of it. If it hits heads, it means the entire graveyard is gone, and it also means that the Barong does not get to resolve because it's no longer there, as well as we pretty much put them on relying on Fire King Island in order to keep their planes going, unless they hit something with Prosperity. If we get the wrong result, that means we're milling 14 cards, and good odds are that out of those 14 cards that we mill, we might mill into halfness. We do have Merly already in graveyard and Sharon already in hand, But another card that we can mill is another copy of Rhino Heart. We are playing multiple Rhino Hearts in this build. So if we hit Rhino Heart can just dump the Sharon from hand. And that makes it so the Sharon triggers, and then we just start like siphoning advantage against our opponent. We also have Needlebug's Nest, so if we end up milling 14 cards, we're gonna mill 19, and then depending on what gets summoned, we have Tearlaments Scream, which means we're milling 22 cards, and with Tearlaments Kashtira, we mill a total of 25 cards from our deck, like on our opponent's turn, which means the odds of hitting the halfness are around 67%. So we do rollback, we did the token toss, and we hit tails, which means we're milling 14 cards. Out of the 14 cards that we milled both Fusion Parasite, and we also milled the halfness, but more importantly, we also hit Keldo the Sacred Protector. I think post Phantom Nightmare, or like even post Maze of Millennia, I think the Ichizu like shufflers are going to be very, very important. If your deck can afford to play these cards and just have ways of siphoning them into the graveyard, I do highly recommend it. Because now in this scenario, I got the best of both worlds. I got both the halfness to for a potential trigger, and not only that, but I also have the Keldo, meaning that I can just put back his Barong from the graveyard into his deck. That way he does not get the Barong effect. Another card that we can put back is both copies of Garunix. So I end up doing Keldo. I end up doing Halfness. I put back Rayphobia. I grab back. I fuse with the Halfness, and with the Zodiac, I'm adding the same Halfness back to my hand. And we end up milling, summoning Roll Kalos because we used Fusion Parasite, meaning that Tearlaments Scream can trigger, and now Tearlaments Scream is going to mill Norella, Rise to Full Height, and Scareclaw Arrival. Rise to Full Height and Palisade Marilla are two really key cards in this deck. Marilla is important because it is, for all intents and purposes, an Aqua monster that can be used for the Sum of Kaleido Heart. But also, this card dumps you Transaction Rollback, it dumps you Soliac, it dumps you the Rise to Full Height, which does actually play a role in this game as well. And like, I think in the future, if you're playing Tearlaments and you're playing a build like mine that just like concentrates on just resolving rollback, you should really, really look into this card playing into your deck. And as you already saw, Fiend Comedian did its job. It just became a really huge blowout. So, yeah, that was the end of that duel. And I'm gonna showcase you the second duel. I pretty much just wanted to like explain and talk about how Fiend Comedian just was a very, very, very strong card on that scenario. Like, in other instances, in other duels, we probably would not have won the Fire King matchup. Like, he had way too much follow up, and he had like a lot of really good interruptions that just pretty much ends on turns, depending on like how the deck is played. I took a gamble and it worked out. I feel like moving forward, if you're playing a mill deck, this card is just going to be very, very, very strong, especially with this interaction with transaction rollback. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you found this video informative and to your liking. I will post more stuff from Maze of Millennia and Phantom Nightmare very, very soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.